Joining the show tonight, it's a former Bearcat, Northwest Missouri State, where he holds not one, not two, but three school records. Had to check up on that one. He's since graduated, got his chance in the big leagues, coming off of rookie mini camp with the Dallas Cowboys. It's Mike Hohensee. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you back on. Like I told you, one time, your one-timer is a not very exclusive club. The second time on here, it's friend of the show status. Would you consider yourself that?
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's always. Oh, I had a good first experience, so I'm glad I can get back.
I love it, dude. I'm pumped to get you back on here. And we covered a lot of guys who made, I shouldn't say a lot, because that group is so small of guys from our level of ball that get a chance or even have, can stick around in the league, man. But talking about that, I mean, I guess to begin with, talk about the free agent process. Is draft day as much of a not knotted up gut type of feeling for you, or obviously you knew that was probably a smaller chance for a guy like you? Talk me through that process and trying to figure out your landing spot in the first place, man.
Yeah, I mean, as a smaller school guy, draft day is not as much of a watch the TV and see what goes down. It's
Yep.
more of a wait till it's over and kind of hope you get some calls afterwards, get a chance to get into a camp. So as far as seeing where you're going, it's really just a waiting game and see how the draft goes, and the priority free agents after that, see where all that lands, and you kind of got to wait for rosters to kind of shake out a little bit so you could see where you could have a chance to fit in.
And when in the process did Dallas end up reaching out? Were there any other teams that you had made contact with that you thought potentially you might end up with an invite or something along those lines?
I mean, my agent was, getting a hold of teams, and it was a lot of maybes, and we'll see down the line, just like closer to the mini camps. So after the first week of mini camps went by, obviously half the teams do their mini camps one week, the other
Yeah.
half do it the next. So after the first week went by, I was just really hoping to see if I, can get into any other ones for the second week, and I had to report for Dallas on Thursday, and they called me on a Tuesday. So it's pretty quick turnaround. But doing what you can to stay ready for the opportunity when it arises. So I was happy to get the call.
Absolutely, man. But you have literally just a couple days to, just get absolved in all of the. I'm assuming they send you some type of. You get any scheme, playbook, any of that nature before you show up, or is all that stuff handed to you as when you walk in the doors?
Yeah, well, how it works, I think their draft picks can get the playbook
Okay.
early and see how it goes, so they can get it going into camp. But if you're an unsigned guy, and I think if you're a guy that like just gets signed, you don't get anything until you get there.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
for
So
for a quarterback too. Not to say that other positions don't need to get in the playbook, obviously, and get their, that kind of that skill up. But for a dude who's supposed to come in and command a huddle, which sounds like you did a good job. We'll talk about that in a minute. But to come in and command a huddle and try to understand what this offense, the scheme and everything looks like. Do you go back? Are you like flipping through some replays of Cowboys games from the last year, or what? What's the prep like?
no, I mean, you just got. I've just been watching a lot of film.
Yeah.
Either whether it's my past film or on our huddle, we got some NFL game film on there. Thankfully, so I was just kind of flipping through that. Going on YouTube, kind of just watching stuff. But it doesn't really help for getting a playbook for a certain team. I mean,
Yeah.
let alone the plays and all the reads that you have and everything that can come from a play, but the verbiage as well. I mean, I could say slinky and it can mean one thing to one team and a completely different thing to another team. So it's definitely it's a fast pace. You got to kind of learn it right away, and if you don't, then you're kind of dragging behind. So I didn't want that to affect me in any way. Thankfully, when I got there, the coaching staff was great, and I just really dove into the playbook as quick as I could.
There's only so many words in the English language, and those can mean things to different people. There's only so many concepts that you can technically rule-abiding run in football, but those are all called different things, probably in each building, depending on where the coach comes from, their respective coaching tree and whatnot. But yeah, that'd be tough, man. I read that you were only one of only two unsigned guys at Dallas's camp. Is that right?
Yeah, so it wasn't a mini camp technically; it was their rookie orientation. So
Okay, got you.
everyone that was there was either drafted, signed, or signing. So
Okay.
everyone that was there was signing. I was basically, the mini camp arm that they needed to come in and be able to, run their offense for them. And so it's not like I was around 30 other tryout guys. I was basically the tryout guy there to kind of be their camp arm in a sort of way, and be able to, get their rookies kind of kicked off and being able to learn, the playbook. I went through, not only meetings and practices, but everything that a new rookie would come into, like team meetings. This is what we do here. This is what we do here. They had a therapist talk to us. Their media guy was talking to us, and we just talked about scenarios, a million scenarios other than football as
Yeah.
well. So it's really life in Dallas. Basically, everything you can think of when you're arriving to a new spot and a new team is what we went over.
That is neat. And in that sense, too, you talk about you're not there with a ton of other guys who are fighting for a spot or for a deal necessarily. Not to say that the other dudes that are there that are signed or drafted aren't hungry, or those kind of things, obviously. But, you're put in that spot where you're the one guy or one of two guys that that don't have a chance and opportunity locked up. In that sense, might it have actually been a better situation for you because you're not – I'm not going to say not competing. That's dumb to say that. But you are one of those only two guys that maybe a lot of the eyes are on.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, being around in a pro atmosphere with a bunch of guys that are definitely going to be there coming into training camp. I thought it was awesome, and I felt like I played like I belonged there. I was in the film room like I belonged there. So it was just a great experience overall for me.
What was that? Those couple of days, I mean, you talk about the turnaround for you, obviously, but once you actually got there, was it like everything went by instantly, or was it, man, this is, taking it all in, this feels like slow-mo, and could have just felt like, those first couple of weeks of fall camp maybe that you get into, and what do they say, the hours are short, but the day, or what the hell, that's just some kind of expression, but did it go very fast for you, or was that a real slow motion, out-of-body type experience?
I mean, I was just trying to soak it all in and, live in each moment. It's not every day you can go in there and be a part of one of the 32 teams that are in the National Football League.
Hell
So,
yeah.
I tried to soak it up as much as I can. And, we were there from 6 a.m. to, 7 p.m. So the days were long, but, I loved every second of it. And, I'm itching to be back in that type of atmosphere for sure.
Just walking around with a thick-ass notebook. Pencil in the ear,
Yeah.
or what?
Oh yeah, big notebook. They give you an iPad to work with too.
I'm
So
gonna
you
say,
got
are you
all
a pen and paper guy, or is everything digital? What's the deal?
I'm a pen and paper guy with my
Love it.
notes, but
That's
you
good.
got an iPad that has the team orient not orient the team schedule
Yep.
on it. It also has a huge library of film on it, and it also has the whole playbook on it. So anything you really need to look up for the team is on the little iPad they give you. So I thought it was awesome. But yeah, no, I'm a pen and paper type of guy. That's where I took I filled up 1.5 notebooks of stuff during my 3 days there. So
No shot.
that tells you anything about all the details that we had to cover. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's sick, dude. I go back and think of they're doing the tour, I think, of Stafford's house, and he had like the film guys hook up all their stuff to his like one room, and that's just his room. He's in there just breaking that shit down constantly, which is hilarious to me. I love it. But that's passion for the game. And speaking of that, talk about Coach McCarthy. He had some praise for you. One of the pressers and something that we had seen on social media, talking about your presence in the huddle, right? Talking about a guy in your position that doesn't have anything guaranteed for you in the next day, week, month, whatever that is, but coming in with a confidence that a lot of guys in that position just don't have. That had to be a pretty cool feeling, hearing him endorse you in that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching him coach since I was a little kid. So to hear someone say that of his statue, say that about me was pretty amazing. But a lot went into that. There's a lot of different things. In college we get signaled to play,
Yep.
and it's not as long of a play. But in the NFL, you got to hear the play from these coaches, who read it off like they're saying their ABCs. That type of fastness, and you got to turn around into a huddle and repeat everything. Those lengthy plays that they just said. But also you got to understand what those plays are. I mean, that first day I was there, as soon as I got the playbook, I was in it. And I was ready to go. 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 And I was ready to Made sure I knew the plays for all 3 days I was there. They kind of did it into 3 installs, but I was like, I'm gonna get this all down just right now.
Okay.
One, just to learn and repeat the plays and be able to say them. But the other thing, to learn my reads and know what I have to do on each given play. And I think I really impressed them with that. It got to a point where, they would put me up on the board, have me draw plays, have me explain different scenarios. And it got to the point where they're like, all right, we don't even need to do this with you anymore. Like, you obviously know everything. They actually started going into more details about other plays that they weren't planning on teaching me, just because I got everything down so fast. He's like, all right, we don't even need to be in this room anymore. Let's just go out on the field and work footwork for these plays, stuff like that. So I just wanted to make the most of my opportunity. I feel like I did that.
Hell yeah, dude. That's pretty special. That's cool stuff. And I mean, in that sense too, one, obviously, you're impressive from a prospect standpoint, from an athlete standpoint, as someone who, like you said, on a 2-day turnaround can come in there and put their nose in the playbook. And not only just do that, like you said, it's one thing to, yes, hear play, recite play, robotic. We know, everyone who's watched football knows that everything in football is situational. So understanding the play, but then how that fits, like you said, into a larger scheme and try and make those plays and move in that capacity. That feels like that would be ridiculously difficult. Was there a first kind of couple moments for you where you just had to, I don't know, pinch yourself, shake some of that out, and just get playing loose? Or how do you get to that point, man? In that sense.
Yeah, I mean, just have people, read the play to me and repeat it, when we're not doing it. So I can, it got at the first practice, it was like, hear the play, try to repeat the play, break the huddle, and then figure out what I just said, that type of thing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
These are some lengthy plays now. You got to be able to repeat. And you can't, get one part wrong because then the whole play screwed up. But, by the second and third day, I was able to say the play and know what was going on for sure. 100%. But yeah, it's a crazy process, but it's part of football.
Yeah, 100%, man. And when you talk about longevity and that standpoint, you got a roster that's got Prescott on it, obviously. Cooper Rush, who I didn't know was part of that, and then you go down to Trey Lance. Certainly not an easy get from a quarterback perspective. What were those conversations like with them as far as them evaluating your performance and any potential moving forward? How did that go from a guy in your position that just came in there looking hungry for anything?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of at first they weren't even thinking about taking 4 QBs into their training camp. Like, I mean, their third guy on the depth chart's a former first round pick. So they really just wanted to come in there and have an arm. But I'm glad I made them reevaluate that even. Being able to pique their interest and be like, hey, maybe this guy can help. The special teams guy saw that I was a punter. And he's like, hey, in the preseason, we might have you, punt some balls for us because I want my punter to take all the reps. I don't think he knew I was on a trial basis because I was like the only one.
Yeah.
So I think
you're like in the preseason game, me?
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to tell him no, I might not be here. But it was awesome, just being a part of all those conversations. So yeah, in the OTAs that's going on right now through the summer, they really feel like they need to be able to give Trey Lance, their third string guy, those more reps. So that's why, the summer wasn't going to be able to work out for me. But maybe down the line in training camp or something like that, hopefully, I could always get a call back. So we'll see about that, see what the future holds. But I'm glad I made him even evaluate, hey, maybe we should have this guy in as a fourth guy. Plus, I think it helped that I could be of value on special teams.
Yeah, no, 100%. And how many quarterbacks can do that, right? The number's pretty small, especially at that level.
With the other positions, there's more receivers than there are QBs on the roster type thing, and a place where receivers can earn their spot on the team through special teams, and it's usually not like that for a quarterback.
No.
So yeah, so I'm kind of that double-edged sword at that quarterback spot that I feel like, hey, I could kind of level the playing field with being able to try to make a team in that type of way.
I was thinking unicorn, but we'll go with sword. That sounds
that's cool too. Yeah.
Sword sounds double-edged sword sounds better. But no, you're right. That is and that's something too. I mean, you look at from D2, D3, NAI, whatever it is, to the pros. Quarterback's got to be one of the smallest position groups that makes that jump. And now seeing a guy like Bajent make that process, and yeah, he didn't go in and light the league on fire, but go in and be a serviceable NFL quarterback and win in the NFL, that's got to be a pretty cool feeling to be in that situation, pretty closely removed from seeing him do that on the big stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he kind of, paved the path to show that D2 guys can play in the NFL. And I'm glad it happened the year before I got there, so he kind of show people that. And it definitely, I'm pretty sure, is, giving other D2 guys an opportunity to be able to come in and compete. So, yeah, it was awesome to see that.
Yeah, man. And I mean, obviously, D2 guys have made an impact across the NFL. We just don't see it at the quarterback position a lot because it is such a, I mean, you talk about the intangibles are very important. When you get to a quarterback, though, all these different measurables and things that they have are typically the reasons why guys end up D2, D3, NAI, because they're usually because of those reasons. So a lot of things are stacked up against them. But you're not the only small school guy when it comes to quarterback that got a chance this year. You look at Corey Curtis, who's a couple little, but 2 years removed now, I believe, from Gannon, getting a tryout over there with the Seahawks. West Florida, Pee Wee Jarrett had a little stint there with the Gens. Augustana, Casey Bauman, all found their way to NFL camps, which is really sweet. Do you keep up with those guys' stories, journeys? Do you have any communication with them at all?
I don't have any communication with them, but I see it on Twitter, and I think it's awesome that guys that are from smaller schools are getting a chance to be able to compete, just to show what we can do. And the more the guys can break into those rosters, I think the more NFL teams will be like, hey, we might have some guys here that we could pay a lot less, and they could do they could do a good job for us. So I think that's awesome.
That's a good point too, and something that maybe isn't brought up quite as much, because when you look at an NFL team where they're going to make their cost saving moves, typically not in the quarterback room, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
When you're talking about a guy that, again, someone in your shoes, you're not coming in, to be a starter, at least, especially not right away, and you probably wouldn't be a backup in most places, but like a QB3. And now you're talking about, okay, like what do those contracts really look like? And can you actually save money, but also provide a lot of value, like you talked about in the special teams game? That's a different perspective that I actually don't believe I've thought about before, especially in your position.
Yeah, I mean, especially in my case, like I said earlier, I can punt too.
Yeah.
So if your punter goes down, you don't gotta bring one in the day before a game. If he pulls a hamstring, like, hey, we got an emergency punter waiting for us. It's our third string QB. And I'm down to do anything. They can have me play any position. I'd do it. So any way I could sneak in the door, I'm down for it.
That's good, dude. Yeah, and I mean, again, bare minimum, this opportunity, you got your name in those circles, and you impress those guys in that room and the people that you work with. And one, obviously, now you have relationships in that building and that facility. But then two, those guys move on to wherever, and the NFL is this one big. They say it's one big family, which is the craziest thing in the world. But that's what they say. And so your name is in those circles, which is really exciting. But what's the next couple months look like for you?
Just keep training, staying ready. My agent's going to be talking to teams, whether it's NFL, CFL, just kind of seeing if I can get my foot in the door in one of those leagues by the time a training camp happens, and just keep training. The UFL will be a spring league that, they're playing in next year too. So really just staying ready for anything. I got a call 2 days before the Cowboys camp. So, I can get a call, tomorrow and tell, be down Thursday again. So, we'll see. I'm just staying ready for anything that happens.
Run it back, dude. That was the next question anyways, was asking about, potentially pursuing some of the other league opportunities, because right now you do have a couple different ones, which is good. So, sweet, man. That's about all I had for you. I'm excited for you, though, dude. This had to be a pretty crazy experience. And just like you said, being in that environment, was it tough to not be a little awestruck and just kind of looking around, or did you settle in immediately?
It was crazy, especially at Dallas. The facilities,
I was going to say,
the facilities were top notch. I mean, they're hosting while I was there, they were about to host the Country Music Awards.
Okay.
Yeah, they had Kenny Chesney in the weight room working out because he knows one of the people on the training staff. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah, ridiculous.
The food, first dinner there was like surf and turf type dinner, and it was just like a 5-star restaurant. So, the facility's definitely a little different from D2 in the way you get treated. But I loved it, and it's definitely the environment I feel like I should be a part of. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
the future.
No, you just got to believe you belong there, brother. What did Jerry Jones said? Something along. I won't even try and do an impression, but something along the lines of my hand don't cramp writing checks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they even got free Ubers for people on the team.
Damn.
So yeah, anywhere they want to go.
That's
So
big.
that's big. Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
big.
awesome.
That's big.
Yeah,
I don't think people
they
realize. Yeah.
they definitely set their players up for success there, and it was awesome to be a part of it.
That is cool, man. Sweet. Mike, once again, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for spending a little time with me, man. Excited
Yeah,
to see whatever the next step holds for you.
thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate what you do for all the small school guys.
You're the man. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you too.
See ya.